The graphics card is the most important component in any gaming PC, and you certainly won't find anyone disputing that. Sure, components such as the CPU, the RAM, the power supply, and others are all vital, and the PC can't function without them. But if gaming is your primary concern, then it's the GPU that's going to be doing the most important heavy lifting when it comes to rendering all those polygons, textures, shaders, and effects that make up the digital world of every video game. As you probably already know, new GPUs are being released all the time. Sometimes the next generation of GPUs introduces exciting new innovations to mainstream gaming, while sometimes the new lineup only offers an incremental boost in performance, or quite simply rebrands old GPUs and markets them as new products. That said, there are dozens upon dozens of graphics cards available for purchase right now, and finding the one that fits your needs best can be quite a tedious slog through benchmark results, comparisons between different GPUs, comparisons of different cooling solutions, and so on. Well, if you don't really have the patience for that, here are a few GPUs that we think are very good picks for gaming in 2020. While keeping up with the latest cutting-edge GPUs and technologies sure is fun, not everyone has hundreds of dollars to spend on a graphics card alone. And if you can't afford to spend too much, you're gonna want to find a good budget solution that comes at an approachable price while also offering good performance for the money. And so for our budget pick, we have the NVIDIA GeForce 1650 Super. Surprised that the budget pick is an AMD this time around? Honestly, so are we. For a long time, AMD generally offered better value in lower price ranges than Nvidia did, so the GTX 1650 Super came as an interesting change of pace. The model that we chose is the one coming from Zotac Gaming, as it is a compact card with efficient dual-fan cooling that currently goes for $160, which is also the MSRP of the GTX 1650 Super. And to put it simply, Team Green easily beats everything that AMD has to offer at this price point right now. Currently, you can find many Radeon RX 580 models hovering around that price point. However, the GTX 1650 Super not only offers slightly better performance in general, but it's also based on a much newer and more power-efficient architecture, which makes it a better choice on virtually all fronts. One notable advantage that the RX 580 does seem to have, though, is its larger VRAM capacity. Most RX 580s come with 8GB of VRAM, whereas the GTX 1650 Super is only available with 4GB of VRAM. While this might make some minor difference in certain VRAM-intensive games, the GTX 1650 Super still has faster GDDR6 RAM and has the lead when it comes to overall performance. Add to that the fact that it's much newer and more power efficient, and it's abundantly clear as to why it's our main pick for a budget gaming setup in 2020. But you're also probably wondering about the Radeon RX 5500 XT. Isn't that supposed to be AMD's latest budget model? Well, the 4GB version of the RX 5500 XT goes for about $170, while the 8GB one goes for $200. And the GTX 1650 Super kinda beats them both. Nvidia's GPU consistently scores higher in benchmarks and offers better in-game performance at a lower price point. So the tables have definitely turned, at least for the time being. So all in all, if you're on a budget and you're looking for a good budget GPU for gaming in 1080p, we'd say that the GTX 1650 Super is the best option available at the moment, as it beats the competition and is a big improvement compared to the old GTX 1650. If you're really pinching for pennies, however, the Radeon RX 570 might be a better choice, as it is some $40 cheaper. Of course, the performance isn't quite as good, but you won't find a cheaper GPU that can run the latest game in 1080p at acceptable frame rates. Next up, for our mid-range pick that we feel happens to offer the best overall value for your money, we have the Radeon RX 5700 XT. The model that we'd recommend comes from Gigabyte, see the link in the description, and it is one of the best RX 5700 XT models in general, as it boasts a good triple fan cooler as well as a sleek shroud and backplate, all the while maintaining a very approachable price. AMD may have dropped the ball with the cheaper models this time around, but the RX 5700 XT is another story. Priced at $410, Gigabyte's RX 5700 XT is among the more affordable models, and it is more or less in the same price range as Nvidia's RTX 2060 Super. However, AMD's card pretty much consistently outperforms Nvidia's cheapest RTX GPU by a noticeable margin, anywhere from 5 to 20 frames per second, depending on the game and the resolution, of course. And if that wasn't impressive enough, the RX 5700 XT also goes toe-to-toe with the significantly pricier RTX 2070 Super, and it can actually even outperform it in some games. Not by much, mind you, but if a $400 GPU can keep up with and even beat a $500 one, then it's definitely worth considering. Now, the most obvious advantage that the RTX 2060 Super has compared to the RX 5700 XT is the inclusion of real-time ray tracing, which was the biggest and the most heavily marketed feature of Nvidia's Turing GPUs. And while this may seem like a major selling point for the RTX 2060 Super, keep these two things in mind. A, few games make proper use of ray tracing at the moment, and more importantly, B, ray tracing is very demanding and will generally cut your in-game FPS in half, which constitutes a big performance hit for a mid-range GPU such as the RTX 2060 Super. So with all of that in mind, it should be obvious as to why we chose the RX 5700 XT as our mid-range value pick. It can offer excellent performance in 1080p and is a very competent GPU for 1440p gaming, and it can even take on 4K, though the performance won't exactly be stellar in the more demanding titles. And finally, if you're building a high-end gaming PC and can't afford to get yourself some of the more powerful hardware, then the card that's bound to get your attention is the RTX 2080 Super. Currently one of the most powerful Nvidia GPUs, the RTX 2080 Super offers some of the best performance that you can currently get in a mainstream graphics card. And we feel that MSI's Gaming X Trio version is one of the better models that you can get at the moment, as it equips the card with excellent triple fan cooling, beautiful RGB lighting, and a sleek exterior that can fit great inside virtually any high-end gaming PC. Overall, the RTX 2080 Super offers great 1440p and 4K performance, not to mention that it will also manage to push higher frame rates with ray tracing turned on compared to the cheaper RTX models. We also feel that it offers much better value for your money than the beefier RTX 2080 Ti, which costs about $500 more than the 2080 Super, thus pushing the price so high you could build an entire gaming PC for what the graphics card alone would cost you. And yes, the 2080 Ti does perform significantly better in benchmarks. When it comes to actual in-game performance, the in-game FPS difference between the 2080 Super and a 2080 Ti is usually about 10 to 20 FPS, depending on the game and the resolution. That said, if you're aiming for 4K gaming or want to hit higher frame rates on a 1440p monitor, we feel that the RTX 2080 Super would be the best and most cost-efficient pick. So all in all, we feel that the AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT is currently the all-around best pick when value is concerned, as it will net you more frames per dollar than any other GPU could at the moment. It offers excellent performance at both 1080p and 1440p, and as we've mentioned before, it can also do 4K, albeit at lower frame rates. However, keep in mind that GPU prices will inevitably fluctuate with time due to a number of factors, and new GPUs will be out in no time. So if you're watching this video a few months after it was originally uploaded, then there's a chance there might be inaccuracies here. For more up-to-date information, make sure to check out the complete buying guide on our website, as we will keep it updated as the market shifts. Moreover, it will also have some additional graphics card models that might suit your needs or budget better than any of our 3 main picks. And that about does it for this video. Tell us if you agree or disagree with our picks. Drop a like and subscribe if you like our content, and maybe share the video if you have any friends who are feeling torn about which GPU to buy. As usual, may your games be fun and your losses few, and as always, we'll see you next time on Gaming Scan.